Is India really the land of endless opportunities that you hear about from news channels, business commentators, and maybe politicians? Or is there more to the story? Today, we're going to look behind the glossy headlines and talk about the real opportunities, the real issues, and some key things to keep in mind before stepping into the Indian market. India is among the strongest growth trajectories for a major economy. But let us be honest, India is not without its challenges. India is a market full of potential, but it demands patience, planning, and a deep understanding of its unique structures. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Veyrah's video series. In our videos, we will be discussing topics of relevance to anyone interested in investing or doing business in India. For our very first video, we thought of dealing with the big question, the overarching subject of our entire video series, India as a destination for foreign capital and businesses. Have you considered India as an investment destination? But I've always wondered, is India really the land of endless opportunities that you hear about from news channels, business commentators, and maybe politicians? Or is there more to the story? To quote Oscar Wilde, the truth is rarely pure and never simple. Today, we're going to look behind the glossy headlines and talk about the real opportunities, the real issues, and some key things to keep in mind before stepping into the Indian market. I'm Ajay Joseph, a partner at Veyrah Law. We're a law firm based in Mumbai, India. You can find more information about us on our website. The link is in the description below. Before we start off with our topic for today, since this is our very first episode, I wanted to take some time to draw your attention to our disclaimers and some guidelines to keep in mind while watching all our videos. As lawyers, we are a licensed profession in India and are governed by the rules framed by the Bar Council. Our videos are not meant as advertisements or solicitation for work, but for sharing information based on our experience. We strongly recommend that you consult with your own advisors regarding any information you receive in this video. That said, more information is there in the disclaimers. I would strongly urge you to read through the disclaimers. With that out of the way, let's move on to the first part of our discussion. Let's take a look at why the hype about the India growth story. Here are some top reasons why India is on every investor's radar. The first is a massive growing middle class. The Indian middle class is expanding rapidly, creating one of the world's largest consumer markets. Recent estimates place India's middle class at approximately 400 to 450 million as of 2020-21, with projections reaching 700 million by 2031. That's more than the entire US population and close to Europe's total population of approximately 700 million. The second is the demographic dividend. India is one of the youngest large workforces in the world, with a median age less than 29 years in 2025, positioning it amongst the youngest large economies globally. More than 65% of the population is aged between 15 to 64. By comparison, the median age in the US is 38.5 years, nearly 40 years in China, and close to 45.5 years in Germany. The third important factor is the skilled services sector. Services contribute 54.7% to India's GDP as of 24-25, supported by a highly educated talent pool, with strengths in IT, finance, consulting, and other knowledge-based industries. The fourth is the labor arbitrage. Labor costs in India remain substantially lower than in developed economies, averaging $240 per month in manufacturing, often 20 to 30% below China's $750. Similarly, India is substantially lower in service as well. This combination of cost efficiency plus specialized talent gives firms a rare competitive edge in global outsourcing and production strategies. The fifth, as most people already know, India is among the strongest growth trajectories for a major economy, with real GDP growth reaching 6.5% as of 24-25 and projected at 6.4% for the 25-26 financial year. By contrast, advanced economies like the US, Germany, or France often grow at 1 to 3% annually. These are just some of the highlights which make India one of the fastest growing markets in the world. While I'm not an economist, I would think these data points are rather self explanatory to make an assessment that the Indian opportunity is real. And as the saying goes, a journey to 1,000 destinations begins with a single opportunity. In India, there are multiple. But let us be honest, India is not without its challenges. Let us take a look at some of the big challenges that India faces. Some of the key challenges that India faces is the ease of doing business. While its rankings have improved, India is still ranked 63rd out of 190 economies, as per World Bank's final Doing Business report of 2020. It reflected some improvements in insolvency and taxation reforms, but still positioned behind China, Thailand, competing economies in the race for foreign capital. The second major issue that India faces, judicial delays. Over 51 million court cases remain pending as of 2024, with contract enforcement averaging 1,445 days and 10 to 15% of cases pending over 10 years, with some unresolved for over 30 years. Let me repeat this once more. Over 51 million court cases are pending, with some unresolved for more than 30 years. India ranks 163rd as per the last World Bank's report on enforcement of contracts. On this point, it might be useful to understand why the implications of delayed enforcement is a significant problem for investors. Businesses in developed markets rely on their contracts to ensure that people honor their obligations. In case of a breach, courts are the forum to act as a deterrence. In India, if enforcement is going to take years, the deterrence is no longer there. Especially in a fast-changing business environment, relief after 10 years is as good as no relief at all. This is, of course, a major theme that we will discuss again and again across our topics, and what investors should do differently in India, given the unfortunate delays in the Indian judicial system. The third issue that India faces, or for investors rather what they face here, is land acquisition. If you're a manufacturing business, it's still a major hurdle to acquire land, with complex title clearances and state-level variations. Although there are initiatives being taken by the Indian government to digitize land records and introduce transparency, this could take a few years before we see the benefits, if any. Next on the list, corruption. India ranks 96th out of 180 countries for perceived corruption, as per Transparency International. Despite what multiple sources may claim, corruption is rampant. Add to that regulatory uncertainty, frequent abrupt changes in the legal regime which cause business disruptions, and significant uncertainty for long-term planning. Many investors still might remember the infamous Vodafone case and the subsequent retrospective tax amendment. More recently, the ban on online gaming, introduced by the government in August 2025. It disrupted and destroyed multiple startups and new age companies in the space overnight. Millions of institutional investor capital was eroded with a single decision. Whatever noble intentions the government of India may have had, the fallout was catastrophic and damaging to investor sentiment. I can go on with the list, but the above should be enough to give you all a sense that it's not all roses and sunshine in India. So, where does the truth lie? The truth, as always, lies somewhere in between. India is a market full of potential, but it demands patience, planning, and a deep understanding of its unique structures. Let's take a step back into history to understand the origins of the challenges in India. As is common knowledge, India was colonized by the British Empire and got its independence post the Second World War in 1947. While India managed to get its freedom, it was left in chaos after the partition of what was then British India into modern-day Pakistan and India. To add to the chaos, over 550 princely states were left to decide for themselves to join the newly created Dominion of India or the Dominion of Pakistan. The founding fathers gave the Indian population a constitution based on personal liberties inspired from the British and American constitutions. A fine idea, but some would argue ahead of its time, with concepts that were alien to the Indian population of the time. The Indian landscape changed over a short period of time from small monarchies under the British protectorate system into a federal democracy, with laws allowed to be made at both the central and state levels. But the legal system we inherited was a legal system based on common law, like the United Kingdom. However, the first government dispensation in India found itself more attuned to the Soviet planning system of state control, what later came to be called the infamous license Raj. Much of that legacy continues in the modern day bureaucracy. It was not until 1991 that the extensive system of governmental licenses and approvals were dismantled to some extent. It's important to note that this was also done reluctantly due to pressures from World Bank and IMF loans, and not by choice. Hence, while many commentators and experts talk highly about free markets and empowering entrepreneurship, the laws in place sadly do not reflect the sentiment. The laws are still made to regulate for the exception, continued systems of reportings and approvals, and an excessive bureaucratic interface. Add frequent elections and regional differences, and you can easily see why investors need more than just a business plan. Now that I've portrayed a rather dismal story, let's address the moot question. Is an investment in India worth all the trouble? The short answer to that is absolutely, but only if you come in with your eyes open. To quote the famous Warren Buffett, the best protection any investor can have is knowledge. Opportunities certainly exist. A huge market, a young workforce, rapid growth, and a thriving services sector. An economy in a growth path and will soon become, at some point, the third largest economy in the world. A largely stable political environment with a democracy that has survived even when its neighbors have gone from one political crisis to another. The challenges also remain: regulatory complexity, judicial delays, land acquisition hurdles, and a challenging tax environment. But the growth story is real. Some key takeaways that I would give for any investor to keep in mind: understand the regulatory environment and the problem statements before committing large amounts of capital and resources. Strategic structuring. What does that really mean? Combine your structuring for strategy with risk assessment. For example, consider entering the market in phases as opposed to committing large amounts of capital at one go. Of course, if you're a large global business, small ticket sizes may not fit in with strategic growth plans. But consider then setting up your own base and forming partnerships with local players. But commit capital in phases. The second thing that I would advise is risk assessment and factoring. Don't rely solely on contracts. Enforcement can be slow. Build risks into your model. Keep structures simple and always factor in tax and regulatory changes. Thirdly, partner diligence. Diligence your local partner and find out their history with past business partners and regulators. A lot of information is readily available in the public domain due to the extensive regulatory system of reporting. These are some preliminary thoughts for consideration. As we go into more specific topics, we will discuss more nuanced and sector-focused viewpoints. For our opening topic, I hope this episode has given you a realistic view of India's business environment without spooking you too much. The Indian growth story is real, but it is not without its bumps. Certainly consider India as a destination for investment, but make an honest assessment of the risks involved and factor those in long-term plans to create success stories. Like Winston Churchill said, difficulties mastered are opportunities won. In upcoming episodes, we will dive deeper into specific sectors with practical tips. Until then, if you found this information useful or know someone who would benefit from this, please do share this video. And if you have questions or specific topics you want us to cover, drop them in the comments or send us an email. Someone from the team will certainly get back. Thank you for watching and see you in the next episode.